After the first bewildering impressions began to wear off, we perceive that it is not altogether terrible. Beside the reassuring birds and flowers, we discover a chain of shining lakelets hanging down from the very summit of the pass, and linked together by a silvery stream. The highest are set in bleak, rough bowls, scantily fringed and brown with yellow sedges. Winter storms blow snow through the canyon in blinding drifts, and avalanches shoot from the heights. Then are these sparkling tarns filled with and buried, leaving not a hint of their existence. In June and July they begin to blink and thaw out like sleepy eyes. The carices thrust up their short brown spikes, the daisies bloom in turn, and the most profoundly buried of them all is at length warmed and summered, as if winter were only a dream. Red Lake is the lowest of the chain, and also the largest. It seems rather dull and forbidding at first sight, lying motionless in its deep, dark bed. The canyon wall rises sheer from the water's edge on the south, but on the opposite side there is sufficient space and sunshine for a sedgy daisy garden, the center of which is brilliantly lighted with lilies, castilians, larkspurs, and columbines, sheltered from the wind by leafy willows, and forming a most joyful outburst of plant life, keenly emphasized by the chill baldness of the onlooking cliffs. After indulging here in a dozing, shimmering lake rest, the happy stream sets forth again, warbling and trilling like an ouzel, ever delightfully confiding, no matter how dark the way, leaping, gliding hither, thither, clear or forming, manifesting the beauty of its wilderness in every sound and gesture. One of its most beautiful developments is in Diamond Cascade, situated a short distance from Red Lake. Here the tense crystalline water is first dashed into coarse granular spray, mixed with dusty foam, and then divided into a diamond pattern by following the diagonal cleavage joints that intersect the face of the precipice over which it pours. Viewed in front, it resembles a strip of embroidery of definite pattern, varying through the seasons with temperature and the volume of water. Scarce a flower may be seen along its snowy border. A few bent pines look on from a distance, and small fringes of cassiope and rock ferns are growing in fissures near the head, but these are so lowly and undemonstrative that only the attentive observer will likely need to notice them. On the north wall of the canyon, a little below the Diamond Cascade, a glittering side stream makes its appearance, seeming to leap out to the sky. It first resembles a crinkled ribbon of silver hanging loosely down the wall, but grows wilder as it descends and dashes the dull rock form with foam. A long, rough talus curves up against the part of the cliff, overgrown with snow-pressed willows, in which the fall disappears with many an eager surge and swirl and plashing leap. Finally, beating its way down to its confluence with its main canyon stream. Below this point, the climate is no longer Arctic. Butterflies become larger and more abundant. Grasses with imposing speed of panicle wave above your shoulders, and the summery drone of the bumblebee thickens the air. The dwarf pine, the tree mountaineer that climbs highest and braves the coldest blasts, is found scattered in storm-beaten clumps from the summits of the pass. About halfway down the canyon, here it is succeeded by the hardy two-leaved pine. Here it is speedily joined by the taller yellow and mountain pines. These, with the burly juniper, shimmering aspen, rapidly grow larger as the sunshine becomes richer, forming groves that block the view, or they stand more apart here and there in the picturesque groups that make beautiful and obvious harmony with the rocks and one another. Blooming underbrush becomes abundant. Azalea, Spiraea, and the briar rose weaving fringes from the stream, and shaggy rugs to relieve the stern, unflinching rock bosses. Through this delightful wilderness, Canyon Creek roves without any constraining channel, throbbing and wavering now in sunshine, now in thoughtful shade, falling, swirling, flashing from side to side in weariless exuberance of energy. The glorious Milky Way of cascades is thus developed, of which Bower Cascade, though one of the smallest, is perhaps the most beautiful of them all. It is situated in the lower regions of the pass, just where the sunshine begins to mellow, between the cold and warm climates. Here the glad creek, grown strong with tribute gathered from many a snowy fountain on the heights, sings richer strains, and become more human and lovable at every step. Now you may be by its side, find the rose and homely yarrow, and small meadows full of bees and clover. At the head of a low-browed rock, luxuriant dogwood bushes from willows arch from the bank to the bank, embowing the stream with their leafy branches, drooping planes, kept in motion by the current, fringed the brow of the cascade in front from the leafy covert. The stream leapt out into the light in a fluted curve, thick sown with sparkling crystals, and falls into a pool filled with brown boulders, out of which it creeps gray with foam bells and disappears in a tangle of verdure like that from which it came. Hence, to the foot of the canyon, the metamorphic slates give place to granite, whose nobler sculpture calls forth expressions of corresponding beauty, and the stream is passing over it. Bright trills of rapids, blooming notes of falls, solemn hushes of smooth gliding sheets, all chanting and blending in glorious harmony. When at length its impetuous alpine life is done, it slips through a meadow with scarce an audible whisper, and falls asleep in Moraine Lake. This waterbed is one of the finest I ever saw. Evergreens wave soothingly about it, and the breath of flowers floats over it like incense. Here our blessed stream rests from its rocky wanderings, all its mountaineering done. No more foaming rock leaping, or no more wild exulting song. It falls into a smooth glassy sleep, stirred only by the night wind, which, coming down from the canyon, makes it croon and mutter in ripples along its broided shores. Leaving the lake, it glides quietly through the rushes, destined never more to touch the living rock. Henceforth its path lies through ancient moraines and reaches of ashy sage, which nowhere afford rocks suitable for the development of cascades or sheer falls. Yet this beauty of maturity, though less striking, is of a slightly higher order. enticing us lovingly on through which gentian meadows and groves of rustling aspen to Lake Mono, where, spirit-like, our happy stream vanishes in vapor and floats free again in the sky. Bloody Canyon, like every other in the Sierra, was recently occupied by a glacier, which derived its fountain snows from the adjacent summits and descended into Mono Lake. At a time when its waters stood at a much higher level than snow, the principal characters in which the history of the ancient glaciers is preserved are displayed here in marvelous freshness and simplicity, furnishing the students with extraordinary advantages for the acquisition of knowledge of this sort. The most striking passages are polished and striated surfaces which many places reflect the rays of the sun like smooth water. The dam of Red Lake is an elegantly modeled rib of metamorphic slate, brought into relief because of its superior strength, and because of the greater intensity of the glacial erosion of the rock immediately above it, caused by a steeply inclined tributary glacier, which entered the main trunk with a heavy down thrust at the head of the lake. Moraine Lake furnishes an equally interesting example of a basin formed wholly, or in part, by a terminal moraine dam curved across the path of a stream between two lateral moraines.